In doing wind tunnel testing, yeah, it was right around 5% reduction in drag. When you see Loic and Jackson split out by 0.05 of a second, yeah, Jackson had to do a lot of that, but we'd like to think here at Fox that maybe we were good for 0.05 of a second with the speed suit and the Rampage RS helmet. I'm the lucky guy that gets to tell our design, development, and engineering team, hey, it's got to be safer, but it's got to be lighter. Riders just keep going faster and faster. Tracks aren't getting any safer or less gnarly out there. The certifications that were out there on helmets aren't keeping up with the speeds of some of the compressions that were out there. It felt like it was time to really kind of have a revolution versus another evolution.
Jared Law, welcome to the Downtime Podcast. How are you doing?
Doing well. Thanks so much for having me on. Excited to be here.
Good stuff, man. Yeah, before we get stuck into talking about the brand new helmet, just tell us what your job role is at Fox and like what that means on the daily.
Yeah, so my role, Senior Director of Merchandising, and one of the things I really love about it, it doesn't mean I'm doing the same thing every day. So the way I kind of think of it is I'm the hub of the wheel. I kind of have to have an eye on both the front end of the business. So what's next? What new product do we need to be making? And then I also have a lot of like insight and I'm really working on the back end as well. So all the way through to working with athletes, but all the way back to helping sell product in or even working on, if we need to, hopefully we don't, but if we need a discount product to get it through, to sell it through all the way. So kind of front to back, doing a little bit of everything. And like I said, that's one of my favorite parts of the job is doing something a little different every day.
Never a boring day, eh?
No, absolutely not.
Good stuff. So yeah, we're here to talk about the new Rampage RS. The Rampage helmet, though, has been around at Fox for a while now. I think it first launched in 2006, and then it got a carbon shell option as the RPC in 2013, got a MIPS update in 2021. It's been a super popular helmet on the downhill circuit. What made you decide it was time for something new?
Well, I think we always want to be really on the bleeding edge of innovation and really looking to advance the sport, advance our protective equipment. So it was kind of just, hey, what else is out there right now? I think we had also just gone through an amazing update on the moto side with our V3 RS helmet. We actually took a lot of design inspiration and actually drafted off of a new MIPS Integra split system that was in that helmet as well. So that was part of it. But then the other thing is always just wanting to keep up with how quickly all these athletes are evolving. So that's one of the things, like as we looked out, as we talked with athletes, as we talked with kind of people in the industry, dealers, kind of anyone and everyone that we could talk to, it felt like it was time to really kind of have a revolution versus another evolution. Like you said, we went to the carbon shell and then we just added a normal MIPS LFL, which was a great improvement that we had there. But now that we had this new MIPS Integra split liner, we had a couple other pieces that our athletes had identified that we could make improvements to as well. We felt like it was time to kind of continue to evolve.
Nice. And safety was a big concern, I think. I heard you guys say that rider speed was increasing and you didn't feel like the safety standards have been keeping up with that. Yeah,
absolutely. That was a huge one. And I think and that's part of the evolution of riders as well. It's like riders just keep going faster and faster. Tracks aren't getting any safer or less gnarly out there. So the whole reason these guys are putting on a helmet are one, because the UCI rule says that they have to, but it's also because like we want to keep riders out there and continue to race. We know crashes happen. So if we can keep riders riding even when they do have those accidents or those crashes, we feel like that is something that we really wanted to lean into. And as we were doing our research, we really found like we did a lot of speed studies and actually looked at some of the compression data that we got from suspension brands as well. So we could actually see the speed that we're going, some of the impacts, or like just the amount of force that is going through a bike, which if you're not on your bike and you happen to hit the ground, we assume it's probably a similar force. And we found that just the certifications that were out there on helmets that are out there kind of currently right now aren't keeping up with the speeds of some of the compressions that were out there. So wanted to look and see, could we hold ourselves to a higher standard? What else could we do in the helmet technology side and just from a safety side of things to really push the limits and hold ourselves to a higher standard?
And you ended up using some Ebike standards, is that right? Not in
right.
its entirety, but like elements of Ebike standards to inform what you were doing with the downhill lid.
Yeah, so we kind of looked at what standards were out there in the market now. So you have the ASTM downhill standard, which you have a certain speed and a certain threshold. And then for UCI, actually, the only rule that they have currently is you have to have a full face helmet and it has to have a visor on it. There's no impact rating on there at all right now. So we wanted to look at, okay, what are the standards that are out there now? So ASTM was the big downhill one, but then we also looked kind of outside that and identified the NTA certification or the e-bike certification, which is testing not only at a higher speed or a faster drop rate, but they also have a lower threshold of energy transfer, meaning energy going from the outside of the helmet to the inside of the helmet is much lower than the current ASTM downhill certification. So we wanted to go, okay, hey, that standard's already in place. It's something that we can test and measure ourselves with on that. So that's kind of what we did for the crown impacts or the upper portion of the helmet. And then for the chin bar, we know chin bar is another big piece that we wanted to look at. Right now, for the downhill standard, there's just a deflection test, meaning all it measures is how much that chin bar moves. So what we did is we went out, again, what other standards are there out there? And we ended up using the ECE 2206 Moto standard from chin bars, which not only has an impact rating, a deflection rating, but then also a rotational mitigation rating on it as well. So again, looking what other standards are out there, how can we hold ourselves to the higher standard, and then making sure we're kind of holding ourselves to exceed those standards as well, just to provide as much safety as we can to this new helmet.
That's some piece of work. And rotation's becoming more and more understood, right, as a driver for concussion. So you can have an impact that's maybe not that significant, but if the brain's effectively trying to shear itself in the skull, like it can cause issues and concussion-based stuff. So there's a lot of work going on to try and help reduce that or absorb that rotational energy as well. Is that right?
That's absolutely right. And by no means am I anything close to a doctor or any kind of
same
medical profession in there. But yes, in just working with MIPS, and they've been a great partner with us, they kind of guide us onto all the research that they're doing. So a lot of it is taking the research that they have and then working really closely with them to implement different systems in the different levels of helmet that we have.
Yeah, I was going to ask how you went about achieving some of these like higher level standards. And I think that MIPS Integra split that's in this helmet is a big part of that, right?
It was a huge part of it. So similar to kind of some of the other MIPS systems that are out there, one of the great things about that MIPS Integra split system is that it's in two different layers. So you have an outer layer and an inner layer. The outer layer next to kind of the outside of the helmet is a stiffer EPS or a more dense EPS. So it's better for high speed impact. So, and then the one closer to your head, the second layer there, is a less dense, so much better for low speed impact. So being able to have those two layers and really being able to tune the density of the different EPS allows us to kind of meet and exceed these standards that you have. And then you have the low friction liner, that whole kind of magic sauce that MIPS has in between, allowing for that relative movement to help reduce forces away from your brain that would normally kind of be transmitted through there.
Yeah, so the two layers are like joined, but they can rotate separately. Is that right? Or to an extent,
that's exactly right. Yeah, very similar to kind of like a ball and socket joint. So if you think about your shoulder rotation, they have like your outer and your inner, and those can kind of move independently of each other. The great thing about MIPS Integra Split is it's not just a two-layer piece. It's actually more than two layers. So what that allows us to do is really fit it really nicely to the head form shape that we have and have a really consistent layer of foam from your head all the way out to the outside of the shell of the helmet.
Yeah, but that, I guess that's having these different density foams and split layers and all this kind of stuff. There's a lot more parts in the helmet than there would have been in the previous Rampage. Does that make things challenging from like a manufacturing and assembly perspective?
For sure. I think we probably drove our engineer team crazy with trying to figure out how we do that with 5 different shell sizes, so many different EPS layers, testing different densities. I mean, it's kind of like, it just allows us to tinker with it. I was listening to the podcast you guys had with the Canyon team on, and like how how many like variables they could test on that mule bike. This was kind of the same way. So adding all the different pieces that are going into it, yes, more complex and like, yes, drove those guys crazy, and hats off to them for figuring it all out. But it also allowed us to tinker with a lot of different things to make sure that we were kind of passing the different tests that we had set out for ourselves.
Yeah, that's incredible. So is the MIPS Integra system and the different density foams the biggest unlock in like meeting the new safety standards?
Yeah, definitely. I think the other thing we did was we moved to a chopped carbon on the outer system instead of just like kind of your linear laid carbon, which it's a little bit heavier than like a straight laid. But what the cool thing is with it all chopped on there, it allows that carbon to really press into the mold, which also means like because it's just a more consistent impact, kind of anywhere you would have an impact on your helmet, because all those layers are kind of interwoven on top of each other. It gives it a very nice, consistent test across kind of anywhere you hit on the helmet.
And the chopped carbon looks beautiful as well, I have to say.
That didn't hurt our choice for making that decision as well, for sure.
Good work. So you've made the helmet a lot safer. Like it meets some pretty high standards that you've set for yourselves. Along with doing that, which sort of feels counterintuitive, you've made it 250 grams lighter. It's not often that something gets safer and lighter at the same time, and that is, I mean, 250 grams is a noticeable amount. I first picked up this helmet in the US, I think it was Aces, and was really shocked at how noticeably lighter it felt than the current Rampage RPC. Like, how do you make it safer and lighter at the same time?
Yeah, good question. I'm the lucky guy that gets to tell our design, development, and engineering team, hey, it's got to be safer, but it's got to be lighter. And then I throw it over the fence, and they figure it out. No, a lot of it has to do with the shape. So the old shape of our helmet on the kind of the previous version RPC or Rampage Pro Carbon has a bit more of like a boxy look and shape. So we were able to really shave a lot of the weight out just by making it a more round shape that really falls in line with the new industrial design aesthetic that really kind of started with our V1, V3 RS from the moto side that we're now drafting over here onto the bike side. So just looking at some of the shapes, honestly, it's kind of like when they're doing cars with clay. It's like we just give them, you have only this amount of clay, now make it look as beautiful as possible. And if they only use that amount of clay, we feel fairly confident that we're going to be able to hit kind of the weight targets that we were going for. But at the same time, we weren't looking to make the lightest weight helmet that was out there. We really wanted to find and like strike the right balance of being more aerodynamic, being lighter, but still kind of maintaining a really high level of safety.
Yeah, the figure that I've seen around the aerodynamic side is 5% better. Maybe you can, I don't know if you can explain that a little bit, and also is the reason behind that, is that mostly because you've been able to kind of reduce the frontal area of it? Like you were saying, it's like a more sleek silhouette, I guess.
Yeah, so in doing wind tunnel testing, it was right around 5% reduction in drag that we found. That is definitely just like our head-on. You put it on a head form, you put it in the wind tunnel, we can see kind of the amount of drag of current versus new model. Once you get into real time, I think we'd actually see even some additional benefits of it, just because, like I said, that test is going only straight on. So right at your face, not the most aerodynamic piece of it. And you got to think you're in a pretty dynamic environment when you're going down a downhill mountain bike trail. So any wind that's coming from the sides, I think we'd actually also see improved benefits from there. But aero is definitely one thing that we're starting to look into. I think the times in racing are just so tight now that it's like we're looking to provide any benefit that we can to our racers. So when you see Loic and Jackson split out by 0.05 of a second, yeah, Jackson had to do a lot of that, but we'd like to think here at Fox that maybe we were good for 0.05 of a second with the speed suit and the Rampage RS helmet itself. So we'll, I'm not going to take anything away from Jackson though, especially with the season he's had.
Oh, for sure. It's been incredible to watch, man. But it can't hurt, can it, having a more aerodynamic helmet and a speed suit on, for sure. That's
our hypothesis anyways.
Yeah. And with, again, I might be butchering my understanding of aerodynamics here, but like, I think airflow through the helmet is not always ideal from an aerodynamic perspective. Like if you could push all the air over it, that's probably better. Might be wrong here. But from spending a bit of time in the helmet, the airflow through it is impressive, especially because the forehead vents above the goggle that were very obvious on the RPC are no longer there. Like, how have you managed to make the airflow through the helmet kind of so good for a downhill lid?
Yeah, I think this was another, like, our ID team kept a beautiful look and feel to this helmet, but on the inside of the helmet, in addition to the 2 layers, we also have channeling in the EPS. So there is air intake in the front of the helmet, right above kind of the top brow of your goggle, that pulls air into the helmet, and then it channels that air over the top of your head, and then we have the exhaust ports on the backside. So really kind of, and they took a lot of inspiration from cars, obviously, to kind of see how you funnel the air the right way into the helmet, through to the back of your head, giving you that real feel of kind of airflow going over the top of your head, but then still letting it exhaust out the back, pulling that hot air out as you go.
Yeah, and balancing that with the overall aerodynamics, I guess, of the product, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I mean, doing this is all well and good. You mentioned the looks of the thing, because ultimately, however safe a helmet is, if it doesn't look good, people aren't going to buy it, right? And it also needs to, like a Fox helmet, it's important for you guys that it has that Fox DNA. And I guess that's where it gets tricky. You've done a lot of amazing engineering things to get to this point, but aesthetically, it's still got to be right.
Yeah, absolutely. And that is the secret sauce. I would love it if everybody just picked helmets up and used them just based off of utility, but I think, yeah, you nailed it. If it doesn't look good, people aren't going to put it on. But I'm so excited about how this helmet turned out. And like, I think just rider feedback and kind of the initial reception that we've gotten has been really, really positive.
Yeah, what goes into that, like the DNA side of things? Because obviously you've got the hexagon mouth port is like a big Fox thing, but there's other elements in all the styling that are, as a non-design person, hard for me to kind of pin down, but you can tell it's a Fox product when you see it.
Yeah, I think our industrial design team, it's, Fook and James that are really doing that, and we spend a ton of time. I mean, this helmet was 24 plus months in development that we were doing. And so we kind of look at, okay, hey, here's where we've been. Here's kind of where mountain bike has been. Here's kind of where moto has been. Here's kind of the future that we want to look towards going to. How far of a step can we take? How far do we want to go towards kind of that new direction, or kind of a new aesthetic, while still kind of tying in and not getting away from that Fox heritage that you're talking about. One of the things that we always kind of preach is honor, conquer, invent. So we always want to honor yesterday, conquer today, and invent tomorrow. And I think the ID guys, the industrial design team, does such a great job of knowing what those few features are that are going to kind of make it stand out as a Fox product. The mouth port definitely being a big one. We also have a great kind of line coming down next to your jawline, which is very iconic as well. And even just like the chin bar vents that we're kind of taking from the moto side, but tweaking to make sure like it fits the right use case for a mountain biker as well.
Yeah, am I right in thinking you were quite a long way through the process? I think molds and stuff were paid for, and there was a decision, like the chin bar, people just couldn't quite like say they loved it, so it got changed. Exactly
right. Yeah, so going down, spending out whatever unknown amounts. I know what it is, but I won't air it out here. Spending all the money on these things, but I think that, to me, is like one of the great things, and like one of the reasons why I'm so proud to work at Fox is that we're not gonna settle. We're gonna make sure like we're putting out the best possible product that we feel like really meets the needs, not only of our athletes, but of the brand. We have 50 years of kind of history here at Fox. It's going to be a brand hopefully long after I've been a part of this brand, and it was a long time before. So really kind of taking like, you're a steward of this brand, and it's much bigger than anyone in this building, and making sure we kind of continue to honor, conquer, and invent the future is something we don't take lightly, and something that we got to make sure we really make sure we're doing the right thing. So yeah, you're exactly right. We had a different chin bar shape. We got feedback from athletes, and then kind of had a hard look in the mirror of, is it something that we can live with? And we decided it wasn't. So kind of scrapped it, started over, pulled it back, made the tweaks that we did. And I think we're all really glad that we were able to make that decision and push through kind of what we thought we should.
And that was a big move, right? Like I think it was approved by the CEO in the end. So it was like a significant like decision, a financial decision for the business. Like it shows how important that stuff is to you guys.
For sure. Yeah, all the way up to the top.
Amazing. And you mentioned athletes. Like at what point do you start getting them involved in the process?
At the very, very beginning. So that was one of the first things we did. The syndicate team happened to be over here in California, so sat down with them and just really looked at and had them rank and send out a survey to the rest of our teams as well of, hey, for current helmet that you're wearing now, how do you feel about the fit? How do you feel about ventilation, looks, GoPro mount, visor adjustability? Like what's working now? What's not working now? What would you like to see in the future? And that's kind of what built the blueprint for us as we kind of went down like this to start kind of the brief from my side of, hey, here's what's working, here's what's not, guys. What else? What other technologies out there that we could? What certifications are we going to kind of hold ourselves to? What are the other things that we're seeing out in the market to kind of blend all those together into kind of the direction that we were headed?
Yeah, and then it sounds like they come in later on in the process as well, once you've got kind of visual things for them to look at, and I guess at some point ride samples as well, right?
Yeah, usually ride samples comes at the very end, and it was actually 3D prints we were looking at with that chin bar of just making sure like, hey, how are we feeling about this? And so they definitely, as much as we can, ask them to be a part of it, as much time as they have available to give us, we'll always take it. More feedback is always better than less.
Yeah. And with this helmet, you've got now like a consistent fit across the whole range. Is that right?
That's right. Yeah. So really starting with our speed frame helmet back probably 6-7 years ago with the original speed frame helmet, we really landed on what we felt like was a great head shape that was very comfortable for a lot of riders. And so RPC was kind of the last helmet that we had in what we've referred to as our old fit. So now kind of across the board, half shell, 3/4 and full face, all are kind of we base our fit all on that same kind of head shape that's out there. So not necessarily one-to-one sizing. A medium speed frame isn't equivalent to a medium Rampage RS, but you'll be able to kind of find that right helmet shape for you as long as like that head shape really fits you well.
Yeah, and I think, it's fair to say I've been lucky enough to ride in the Speed Frame RS and the Rampage RS, and they are the two comfiest helmets, genuinely, that I've ever ridden in. So you've definitely ticked something off. And I guess, like, as well as the head shape, like the liner plays a role in that. And is it the Ionic, the liners in them? It's super comfy.
Yeah, the Ionic is it's a treatment that we use on it for antimicrobial, so it just keeps it from stinking a little bit more. But yeah, that's just yet another one of those pieces. Between the different layers of EPS, we can also customize the headliner, cheek pad thickness, cheek pad material on there. Kind of all those little pieces are definitely the small decisions that are the incremental improvements that we can make to really find kind of the best possible product, with it all that being kind of the sum of all of its parts.
Yeah, and that's all fully removable and washable, right? You can just pull out the helmet, stick it in the washing machine and freshen her up.
Yep, exactly. And yeah, with different thicknesses too, to make sure everybody gets the exact fit that they need. Because ultimately, like, end goal for us, one, make a great product, have it be safe as possible. But my biggest goal is that when anyone's in the starting gate, or if you're going to do a bike park lap or wherever you take this helmet, I don't want you thinking about the helmet. I want you thinking about your bike and your run. And this thing becomes a part of you, that it gives you confidence that, you know, you have that best possible helmet on, but then you forget about it and you're focused on enjoying your ride versus anything else.
Yeah, I've ended up with I put the thicker cheek pads in, and the helmet like literally does not move on my head. Like if I move the helmet, the skin on my like skull moves with it. Basically, the fit's super good.
Awesome.
Yeah. And it comes with a peak extender, an action camera mount. There's some nice touches that you've put in there that obviously don't come for free, right? Yeah,
exactly. Normally they wouldn't. So that is part of kind of the thinking that we have around RS. So Rampage RS meaning race spec. We really want to think if you're going to a downhill race, you're a privateer and you don't have the big truck servicing you or a mechanic or anything else, what would be everything that you need to go and race a downhill race? So with your helmet, you're also getting a great, nice carry bag so you can get it to and from. You have a mud visor on there as well, so extended peak, like you said, for mud racing. Spare cheek liners, spare headliners, and kind of everything that you would need to, no matter kind of what the weather's doing, what the track is, you kind of have everything in one kit of parts that all comes with it, so you're not having to do all the add-ons that you normally would.
And you've notched the helmet bag up a bit as well. Like, it's quite a bit nicer than the old RPC bag.
Yeah, we saw, all the people in airports, anytime we go and travel around with the World Cup, we see everybody carrying their helmet bags. Like, all right, these things are getting used. Let's get as much utility out of these as we can as well.
Yeah, there's some extra pockets and plenty of space in them. I carried mine back from Leogang, and it was pretty handy for sliding in like tickets and various things. So thanks for that.
Yeah, of course.
And the peak's got a couple of different positions, right? What's the thinking with that?
Yeah, thank you. Good reminder there. So 2-position visor. We went from unadjustable to now adjustable in 2 places. The thinking there is riders have to wear GoPros now. So how do we maximize, one, the fit of the GoPro and kind of make sure like we just take the any kind of questioning out of it. So you have your normal position, and then you can shift it to a GoPro position with the included GoPro mount that also comes in your bag. And that way it's like you don't have to think about it. You move it up to the GoPro mount, slap your GoPro on there, go out and kind of hit your run, and you're ready to go.
So is that just to pull the GoPro like out of your line of sight?
Exactly. So yeah, it comes up that way. The GoPro, it really kind of sits just above that top brow line so that you don't see it when you're going down. You still have full field of view from the helmet.
Nice. Okay, that makes sense. And you've been showing this thing in public like since the start of the season, but I'm not sure how many people have spotted it. Is that an intentional way to start seeding the market?
Yeah, starting to kind of have it go out there. I think one of the things we always want to do is, racing, especially downhill racing, is the perfect proving grounds for it. So start getting it out on athletes, making it kind of show up organically, letting all the spotters out there looking for new equipment kind of call it out. Then, we'll start talking to the media about it at the same time. But really it's kind of to prove it out before we put it out to market. And we've been super fortunate with the success that Jackson's had in it. First round in Poland on the women's side, Tani wins, and then we have Anna and Nina, all 3 of them in the Rampage RS, all 3 of them on the podium. So like first time out, we sweep the podium like that. That was pretty special. And like kudos to those 3 ladies for kind of doing the work and making us look smart, but always good to see and being able to call it podium proven now too. So pretty cool start of it.
Yeah. What was the response from the athletes like when they first got their hands on them?
It was awesome. So we actually kind of debuted it to the athletes last year at the US Open. So we had a bunch of our teams come in, had kind of an athlete summit to take them through, similar to what I'm doing with you today. Hey, here's what we did. Here's the feedback that we got from you guys. Here's what we did about it. And then we actually unveiled it there and actually fit as many of the athletes that were there as we could, just to let them, that way we knew what we needed to deliver to them. So a lot of them obviously need to get helmets painted before they wear them, but at least that way we got them in a helmet, fit it, got the cheek pads, got the headliners, kind of got everything set so that for the start of the season, they were ready to roll.
Yeah, so you've proven it, I guess, tested it at the pinnacle of the sport, but there's also a lot of testing that goes on beforehand. What kind of stuff does this helmet go through to show that it meets all the standards that you want, it's durable, all of that good stuff?
Yeah, a ton of wear testing. There's a ton of testing that has to be done to go through all those test standards that I had called out before. So multiple impact testing for, NTA, for ASTM downhill, for the ECE 2206. But then we're fortunate we have a ton of riders in this building, a ton of high-level riders, not including myself because I'm definitely not a high-level rider, but plenty of people in here. And you were fortunate to where, like, if we ask someone, hey, you want to go test out a brand new DH Fox helmet for us, usually the answer is an emphatic yes. So yeah, plenty of that there. But yeah, fit testing within the building too. So making sure we have a wide range of heads that they're able to fit and change out any parts that they need to, so that we know we can fit as wide range of heads as possible.
And does it go to like external testing? Is it Virginia Tech that do a lot of like the helmet stuff?
They do on that side. All the testing for certifications to pass is all done externally. So we have to send that out. Virginia Tech right now, they've started to do some full face testing, but for the most part, just the way that their test rig is set up, it's more applicable for the half shell helmets right now.
Right, got you. So it's less relevant data set to look at for full face at this point in time. I'm sure they'll improve that, but
exactly. Yeah. And I think they are working on figuring out how potentially they could solve for some of the for full face helmets there as well.
Yeah. And what are your thoughts on helmet technology in general? Like it feels like we've learned a lot around absorbing rotation, having multiple density foams, all this kind of stuff. There's been a lot of progress there in the last few years, but concussion is definitely a big problem. I know Nina was like stoked with the performance of her helmet when she came off the wall ride at Leogang and seemingly walked away with no real issues. And I know she's had a lot of concussion stuff in the past. So hopefully it shows that helmet's working. But do you think there's still room in the future to improve even further from that perspective as we learn more?
I definitely think we have. I think riders aren't going to go any slower. I think you've seen bikes progress. I think you're going to continue to see helmets progress as well. I think we could look to even sports outside of biking where concussions have been a big deal. So taking learnings from American football, from there's a ton of other, sports that are wearing helmets that I think we can look to outside resources and just continue to collect data. I think there's still a lot of mystery around concussions, and I think that I'm always looking to hear more, get more data, and see kind of how we can best solve. Ultimate goal would be that nobody gets a concussion, and that we can keep riders doing what they're doing and limit the time that they're off the bike.
Nice one, man. Well, yeah, it's great that you guys are pushing forwards on that and setting the bar high for yourselves and for others when it comes to safety. Like, I genuinely feel like I'm doing the best thing by putting one of your new helmets on and going out riding. Like, I don't feel like I could be making a better choice from my safety side of things. So yeah, thank you for everything you do. If people want to check out the new Rampage RS, like, where's the best place for them to look?
Best place to go is probably foxracing.com or your local bike shop that carries Fox. I think you'll start seeing it show up here, show it now.
Good stuff, man. I will stick links to the website in the show notes. People can find that. But yeah, thanks for your time. It's been an absolute pleasure chatting.
Same, Chris. Thanks so much for having me.